Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I would like to welcome you all to the CRA regular meeting. It is September 11th, and it is 5:39. Call the roll, please.
Chairman James.
Here.
Vice Chairman Harris.
Here.
Board Member Brandemart. Here. Board Member Grace.
Here.
Board Member Salvino.
Here.
CRA Director Williams.
Here.
City Attorney Ansbro.
Here.
Thank you.
Will you all please bow your heads for a moment of silence in honor of 9/11 and the heroes and the victims. Thank you. First order of business is citizens' comments. If you would like to speak, there is a request to address form on the outside. If you could please fill that out and give it to our city clerk, we will be grateful. You have 3 minutes. Linda Wilson.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Commissioner Brandemart and I coordinated our colors.
Oh.
I just wanted to come and say thank you
Can I have your name
to
and
the
address for the
CRA.
record, please?
Oh, excuse me?
Your name and address for the
I'm
record,
sorry.
please. It's okay.
Linda Wilson with the Creative Arts Council Advisory Board and the Friends of the Dania Beach Library. I wanted to say thank you to the CRA Board and also to the CRA agency from the Atrium Art Gallery for your support and for all of your funding and support. We have really done, I think, an outstanding job with the Dania After Dark, which has been an excellent program and I hope very successful. I want to see it continue. I also want to thank you for approving the Art of Community grant participation, and we, with the Friends of the Library, are very happy to be a part of that grant and with the research and hoping that it will be a grand success for the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
Administrative reports.
Good evening, CRA Board.
Good evening.
I just want to go through a few things very briefly. This evening you'll receive a presentation from FIU's Metropolitan Center. After we get a first preliminary taste of the findings from the community charrette, we will need to do a workshop to take a deeper dive and to really commit to moving forward and taking the appropriate steps to get the city center redevelopment going. So I would like to propose October 1st or 2nd for a CRA workshop. If you could take a look at your calendars and let me know your availability.
I'm available either day.
What time are you talking to, Joe?
We're open all day, so anything that works for the board, October 1st or 2nd.
I'm open on Monday the 1st. I just don't want it to be at dinner time. You know, I prefer it to be around lunchtime or a little
You guys
later
want
in
to
the
do
afternoon.
11? Does 11 work for everyone on the 1st?
As long as it's taking an hour, because 12 o'clock I have an appointment.
Okay, do you guys want to do 10?
No, is 11 all right?
But I don't know how long it's going to take, and I don't want to say it's an hour, and if it runs over an hour, I don't want to, you know? So,
I could do 10.
you want to do 10?
Right,
Can you do
sure.
10, Commissioner Grace? I know, I tried to do 11. I know you don't like to get up early.
Oh, she don't like to get up.
It's okay.
10:30?
Yes.
10:30?
To
Okay.
11:30, but then I'm leaving, right?
Okay, so 10:30 October 1st.
Yes.
10:30.
I'm gonna write it
Send me a
down.
reminder because I'll be sleeping in.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so as far as the rebranding initiative is concerned, we have 2 RFPs going out on September 13th, and those will be for PR and marketing services. The proposals will be due September 28th. Going down to upcoming events, I'll need your feedback on a few of these items. It doesn't have to be tonight, but if you could just let me know, particularly for the Florida Redevelopment Association annual conference conference, October 24th through 26th in Fort Myers. We'd like to know who will be in attendance so we can make the appropriate arrangements.
We
I'll be
should all
there.
be in attendance,
I'll be there.
all the CRA board members.
Wait, need the
This
dates
is
again.
so
The
crucial.
24th through the 26th of October.
24th?
Oh, no.
24th through the 26th.
Is there a registration fee for that?
That's the seniors' Halloween party.
Yes, we have budgeted for the CRA staff to attend this
How much is the
conference.
registration on that?
I'm not sure what the difference is for staff and for elected officials, but it's a cheaper rate for elected officials.
I mean, is it like $50 or is it $100?
No, I think
No,
you'll be
it's,
back on the 27th.
it's more than that, yes.
Set through the 26th, so I'm not sure if you
Okay,
have to be there
I'll
the
let you
whole
know.
day
I
on
won't
that
stay at a
Friday.
hotel though. I'll have a place to stay, so. Okay, that's why I wanted to.
I'm not
double check.
staying with Marco, I need a hotel room.
And I'm not staying with Bobby, but she wants me to.
Okay, so everyone will be in attendance, but only Board Member Salvino, only he does not require a hotel room.
Should we come back on the 27th?
Or the 26th.
You can come back late on the 26th or stay over and come back on the 27th.
I don't drive late, so you're gonna make it that next morning.
You
Okay.
said from, how far is it, like 2 hours?
Yeah,
I'm just gonna drive back and forth every day.
Yeah, you should be there.
okay, thank you for that. Okay, so going into the rest of our admin report, in your agenda, you have a few of the flyers that we talked about for the upcoming programs that we've discussed, the Residential Beautification Grant Program, our Commercial Property Improvement Grant Program, and the Art of Community Neighborhood Interviews that Ms. Wilson mentioned earlier that will be happening at C.W. Thomas Park and Frost Park. If there are any questions on those, I'll take them. If not, we can go on to our next item.
One question.
Yes.
Michelle, are these commercial property improvement grants only exterior?
Yes.
I have a question then.
If someone wants to do their inside, is that under another program? Because we always did it before.
We used to have it. We stopped doing
Yeah,
it
we had
with
it
Rachel.
before. Merchant assistant.
Right. So in 2016, the CRA board decided to move away from interior improvement grants to just facade improvement grants, just to make sure that we were increasing the physical appearance on the outside, especially in our downtown area, so that people driving by can see, buildings that are painted and upgraded.
I remember when Rachel was here, and I was just elected, and that's when we decided to stop doing it. I think she was speaking on the fact that a lot of people were doing the interior, no one was doing the exterior, and so that it wasn't making much sense, and the turnover rate of people that weren't actually the property owners, but the people that were leasing the space, and then if you get another business, that the interior wasn't needed for that next business.
So our next item under admin report is our CRA Commendation Award. Every year, the CRA recognizes a City of Dania Beach staff member who has really gone above and beyond to not only serve the community, but really assist the CRA with anything that we are working on. And this year, we actually couldn't decide, so we have two City of Dania Beach staff members that we would like to recognize tonight. The first one is Miss Rachel Eisenhower. She could just please stand.
Hey, Rachel.
Ms. Eisenhower is the utility customer service technician in the finance department in the utility division. She constantly communicates with the CRA on any items that relate to the way that we do business. And she's the first line of contact for guests seeking to visit CRA offices. Oftentimes they don't know where to go, and they go to Rachel and she really helps them. And when they come upstairs, they say, oh, we really had a nice experience with someone downstairs, and then we figure out it's Rachel, among others. But Rachel really stood out this year. She's very courteous and patient when communicating with our guests, and this is very beneficial to our organization and really to the city on a whole. And our next recipient is Mr. Willie Spencer.
Woo-hoo! Woo!
He is the maintenance and equipment operator in the Public Services Department, and he's outstanding in his service, especially when assigned to tasks related to the CRA. Mr. Willie, as we all know him, epitomizes the essence of a hardworking member of the city staff, and he really takes time to figure out how to solve problems. He doesn't just, do exactly what we ask. He says, there's a better way to do this. And then he helps us to figure out how to get things done more efficiently and effectively. And I would like to call them forward today along with their supervisors. We have Ms. Nikki Satterfield, the Finance Director, as well as Mr. Brad Kane, Public Services Director. And we really appreciate their leadership as directors and the way that they, have trained staff and really encouraged their staff to provide excellent service. So at this time, I'd like for all the CRA board members to come down and to assist with the next portion.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Since we're fancy now, I'm just going to read it first.
Congratulations. Good to see you. You're all dressed up, too.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to read these plaques. The first one is presented to Rachel Eisenhower in recognition and appreciation of your outstanding dedication, service, and going above and beyond the call of duty, presented by the Dania Beach Community Redevelopment Agency, 2018. And the next one is similar, presented to Willie Spencer in recognition and appreciation of your outstanding dedication, service, and going above and beyond the call of duty, presented by the Dania Beach Community Redevelopment Agency, 2018. Board Member Grace.
So proud of both of them, Rachel and Mr. Willie. Mr. Willie, don't go. I'm going to talk about you a little bit. Sometimes it's nice when you learn from the best. And truly, this gentleman is really no stranger to me because we're homegrown. And when I say we're homegrown, that means we came from the other D, Donaldsonville, Georgia. We both are residents of that place. So his people are my people in Donaldsonville, and the hookup that we've attained as he worked for the city of Dania Beach is I'm leaving. I've given him some marching orders to make sure he keeps everything in contact once I leave in November. And I will be going to home more frequently than usual, and I'll let them know exactly how you're doing, Mrs. Spencer. Thank you. Rachel, you're awesome. I just want you to know I appreciate it. It is kind of nice to have people that work for us that have a caring spirit, and that's what they have, both of them. And this is really long overdue,
Yes,
and I
it is.
appreciate you doing this. Thank you so much, Director.
Board Member Brandon Marty.
Mr. Willie, do you want to say what I'm going to say? Do you want to say what I'm going to say? Mr. Willie, for every single day I ever run into you in my life, and every time I see you here, I always say to you, Mr. Willie, you can go home now, and if they ask you why you went, say I told you so and we'll pay you for the day. Am I right, Mr. Willie? Never missed a time.
Awesome.
I would just like to commend both. Obviously, we all encounter Mr. Willie more because he's on the outside, on the inside, in the restrooms, just everywhere that is needed doing the physical work. I remember when we were feeding the homeless with those homeless boxes, and he was the first one to try and help. And it is just a great pleasure to have two employees that deal with customer service before the public gets to meet any of the department heads or to meet where they're going. They can have a friendly smile no matter who it is. And it's very, very, very important for the morale of this city. And I am just so happy to have you all honored. And something that the Vice Mayor mentioned maybe a year or so ago when he was first elected, and I do think that we need to have a program that does more than just recognize. I think we need to have something in the budget that at least gives a gift card or something of more of an appreciative gesture of such hard work. An Employee of the Month, I think that this is well overdue. I think that it will increase the morale in a lot of our departments, and it will show you all that how great you all are appreciated. And so I just want to thank you all again.
So at this time, I'd like to call Mr. Kevin Greiner forward. He is a senior associate in the Metropolitan Center at Florida International University.
Thank you, Director Williams. Good evening, board members.
Good evening.
The CRA engaged us, as you know, to look at the possible development of a new city center. The three properties on which the City Hall, Library, Fire Station sit. This is just a preview of the final report, which we're finalizing with staff now. So this is a bit of a teaser on some of our early findings. And I want to start by saying that you're sitting on something extremely interesting. The first thing to realize about these properties is that in a very smart move, the CRA and city rezone the properties so that you're actually, as of right, up to about 1 million square feet of new development can be built on these three properties. So you've zoned it for considerable density. As of right, using the density bonuses that are built into the city zoning, as many as 950 apartments or residential units can be built on these three properties. So you've got a project here that's extremely significant. And one of the questions, the key questions that you engaged us to answer is, can a redevelopment of the city center properties really help drive a broader development of downtown? Can it help reposition Dania Beach in the region? Can it be something that benefits the community? And can it start to change the broader kind of market image, the brand image of Dania Beach? And the answer to each one of those questions is an emphatic yes. So as we looked at the sets of properties, we actually did a very deep dive into Dania Beach's economy, industry structure, the labor force, real estate market. We looked at trends where things are going, where they've been for the last 4 or 5 years, your rate of business formation. So we took a very deep dive looking at the economy. We also looked a very deep dive at where real estate markets are going and where Dania Beach positions out in the rest of the region. We also looked at the development of the regional train system, which is now accelerating. We also did, and are providing in the final report, an extensive look at best practices. This is where we're actually providing a library of best examples from around Florida and around the rest of the country of city hall anchor developments. There's a growing trend across the U.S. of city halls being used as an anchor development for broader development projects that accomplish a whole range of goals. So they're being used to revitalize downtowns in a very different way than they have historically. We also a library of best practices in transit-oriented development. And this is the 30-year now and growing practice of developing around train stations, transit stations, developing them so that they both make the transit work better and also the transit enhances the value of TOD. And I'll talk a little more about that later. Also an extensive look at what are called public-private partnerships. And up front I can say the idea of small cities, large cities, public institutions, building and funding their own facilities is quickly becoming an old notion in the United States. The idea, public-private partnerships, is where public institutions, public agencies, partner with private interests to do all kinds of things, provide services, build infrastructure, bridges, roads, run roads. Also, increasingly, to build new city hall, city administration facilities, and other public facilities. It's the trend in the United States, and I'll talk about some of the advantages and specific advantages here in Dania Beach. We also built our research on a developer forum, which is extremely well attended, 35 or 40, including some of the top developers, national developers that are located in South Florida, attended this. That was a real indicator, not only from our research, but that was also another indicator of how strong market demand is for development in Dania Beach. We also built our research on the community charrette. Many of you attended. Very successful event. About 120, 125 participants. We ended up with 9, this is only 6 on screen, but 9 really well-considered development plans. And if there are 2 threads overall that came out of that, the community really supports a redevelopment of the city center sites as something very vibrant. They had a bunch of different ideas, everything from housing, offices, business incubators, tech sites, college extensions, education, and entertainment, restaurants, retail, but they really want to see the city center become something vibrant, something more than just city administration offices. They want to see something that they can go to, draws people from the regions, but someplace there's a lot of activity, a lot of things going on. The other thread that came out of it, we'll talk about it some more as well, is that art. This is a community that is very strongly rooted in cultural arts, visual arts. I think the arts should play out as a strong element of whatever happens at the city center. The arts should be expressed both in public space, performance space, and the ability to host galleries and other types of events. But it's also a way to distinguish the site, the way to make it different from other places in the rest of the region. So those are 2 kind of major threads that came out of it. And a lot of creative, very creative ideas about specific development elements in the project. So that informed our thinking a whole lot. Our overall conclusion, if there's one overall conclusion to the entire study, is that the city center sites in Dania Beach, given everything that you've built into it, city ownership, your zoning, community support, and the forces in the marketplace, you are extremely well positioned to entertain a very significant redevelopment of these properties, and it could be very economically beneficial to the city, both in terms of cost and in terms of its effect on the downtown. What we're also asked to do is to provide an action plan. How do you get from these very good ideas into a potential development? And so what we structured is a very simple, I like top 10 lists. So this is a very fast 10-point plan to take ideas on paper into a potential development. You need to make some decisions along the way, but this is what we're recommending in terms of taking some next steps. The first is decide on a development structure. We are recommending that you pursue the project as what's called a P3, or a public-private development project. The advantages to that, you gain time, cost, speed to development, you get the expertise of the private sector in constructing it. It is the trend in constructing public facilities, financing. You also get the advantage of very low risk. Instead of the city taking on a construction and development project, you engage the private sector to do that, and they take the risk in development of the property. The other economic advantages are extremely significant. Depending on the final plan and how dense it is, there's some real economic benefits, a few of which the value of the property itself is significant and can be used to actually trade and credit and discount severely the cost of your eventual facilities. I'll talk about a potential deal structure. Tax revenue. By contracting the private sector, depending on how you structure it, you could return the properties to the tax roll. 500,000 square feet of development, as talked about in the charrette and the ideas there, could generate as much as $500,000 to $600,000 in new tax revenue each year for the city. That, again, can offset costs or go into other programs because this is a significant development site. The creation of housing units would push new spending downtown. It would really drive retail spending downtown, by creating people who are living here permanently, especially if you're in a certain density, would really drive retail spending downtown because you're putting that much spending capacity in your downtown. The addition of workers on site, if you include office space or incubators, new businesses in the site as well, you're also having people who work here. That drives more spending downtown. That also drives greater tax value. If a significant small business development program, and one of our recommendations includes is that the city's rate of growth in small businesses really lags the rest of the county. It's something that needs to be focused on. This becomes an ideal site to provide small incubators. You could be entertaining the development of as many as 80 new businesses a year through an accelerator program, and not even a very big space at that. Developed intensely, developed with the right kind of density, you're also going to create construction jobs, but you're also going to create more permanent jobs that stay with the development of the property than are currently here now, significant number. And the idea of developing the property in concert with the coming transit station has two benefits. You actually drive sustainability of the new transit station the FEC is proposing with Coastal Link, and the development of the station drives value of the development of these properties. So it's mutually beneficial. So there's real economic benefit to driving the property as a public-private partnership. Good development projects don't just deliver buildings and real estate. They deliver things that the community really needs to address. Part of our analysis, and we think this is very important, is we looked at what we think are the city's highest needs right now, and they could be accommodated in a development plan eventually with these sites. Creating higher paying jobs, expanding resident access to those jobs, job training, education, improving educational attainment rates, improving your rate of business formation. That's critical. Really slow rate of new business formation in the city. That needs to be addressed. Drives jobs, opportunity. Expanding your housing choice, especially creating more affordable housing, workforce-priced housing especially. Things now are moving much quicker. Rents and prices are moving much faster than incomes are. So you're actually, Dania Beach, if it were a county, would be the second most unaffordable county in the United States. The number of households you have paying more than 30% of their income on housing is actually higher than Miami-Dade, which is number 2 in the nation. So you have a very serious housing affordability product that this could help address. We also think that developing really high quality space, that was one of the things that came out of the charrette. The community actually really demanded, give us new space that's high quality space, it's gathering space, it's multi-purpose, but give us new public space that really defines Dania Beach and gives us something, another event space to deal with. It could be designed with its own distinctive architecture. Again, that goes to the whole branding of Dania Beach. That was something now the community, but the developers talked about a lot, is that Dania Beach needs to define more of its own identity. It needs to position itself in the regional marketplace. So that identifying, really working on that brand identity is something that could be done through this project. Third thing we're recommending is get on board the train. FEC is proposing operating now passenger service on the FEC line as early as 2020. This is a major, big deal for Dania Beach. There's only 8 stops in Broward County. There's only 8 stops in Miami-Dade County. So you're one of 16 very exclusive communities that are going to have dedicated transit service at these stops, and they've already chosen the intersection on the rail line and Dania Beach Boulevard as a preferred location for the station. That is right next to the city center sites. One of the things we talk about in our best practices analysis in the final report you'll be getting is that one of the keys to making transit work, one of the keys to making transit-oriented development work, is you don't develop a station and whatever happens on the site separately. The best station, best transit-oriented design that makes the real estate work and makes the train system more supportable, they're developed in concert. You make it as easy as possible for people who live and work on these sites to use that train service, also for visitors to use the train stop as well. So you try to design it as an integrated whole. You have that opportunity. The station is right across the street. It's a very narrow street. Properties are there. It's something to consider. We're really recommending considering this not just as a city center, but as a TOD, Transit-Oriented Development Project as well. The other economic benefits to that is that TOD right now, TOD projects are ranked as the highest preferred investor projects for real estate investors in the United States. They drive the highest property values, and right now they're easier to finance than they've ever been. There's actually a flurry of activity to finance TOD development across the United States because the benefits, the returns on it are so high. There's great return on investment. So there's an economic benefit to it as well. TOD is now becoming popular across Florida. It is, and I can't say enough about it, it is one of the ways you're going to be able to distinguish Dania Beach in the marketplace. You're going to be one of these 16 communities. That makes you unique. If you really build on that transit access, you're going to be someplace that a lot of other places wish they were, and it's going to provide you with a lot of additional benefits having that transit access. Right now, number of communities, Deerfield Beach is probably pretty far furthest ahead right now. City of North Miami is looking at doing TOD, but they don't own any property to do it. Coral Gables is now pretty far ahead. They've got buildings going up, so you're right in the right place in terms of developing transit along. Embrace the density that's in zoning. You actually can't take it back. The site is zoned for pretty high density, in fact. One of the statistical keys to making transit work is the density of properties within a quarter mile of the transit station need to be about a minimum of about 150 residential units per acre. What is the city's maximum density under its zoning code? 150 units per acre. So you're already there. Embrace a highly dense, very vibrant site. It will make the transit work. The transit will drive further value in the site itself. So there's real value to be captured. And the economic benefits back to the city are also higher the more density that you build into it. Distinguish from and leverage Dania Point. Dania Point's a real big deal. You know that. Lots of tax revenue, lots of new development, lots of new visitation. The other thing it does, interesting for a city center project, it announces to the world that Dania Beach is a really great place to invest if you're a real estate developer. Use that, leverage it, market it. Build your marketing program around the fact that Dania Beach is going up and that there are other places in Dania Beach that are as attractive, including your future center city. However, we're recommending competing with Dania Beach would be kind of silly. It's going to be designed at rents and for retailers that you just can't accommodate on the site. Make your city center something very distinctive, something that's more Dania Point. We're recommending, for example, more workforce-priced housing, something that's more affordable for the residents of Dania Beach. Retail should be not big box style, but should be designed in small spaces for local retailers. Support your local retailers, help grow them as much as possible. One of the trends we're seeing are what are called actually micro spaces, retail space that can be scaled down to as small as 350 square feet, and they're doing extremely well because they support new small retail businesses, existing small retail businesses, and get them a lot of traction. So design and build this something as distinct from, but then leverage that marketing value from Dania Point. You need to complete a space program for what you want to keep on site. And this is going to be one of your most difficult decisions. What stays on site? I'll wrap up quickly. What stays on site? Is it City Hall and the library and the fire station? What is it you want to keep? And then you need to design out not a building design, not an architectural plan, not even a floor plan. You need to develop a space program that says, this is the total amount of space we need. This is about how much it will cost. because that will establish your bargaining position as you go out to the market to entertain redevelopment of these properties. Structure a very flexible development program. Let developers do the work for you. You don't need to design the plan. As you solicit developers under a P3 approach, you don't need to complete a detailed plan. You don't need to do detailed drawings. Let them do the work, but be very clear on what you want. The financing, the deal you want, the facilities you want, but then leave flexibility in the rest. We're recommending a baseline of uses we think you really need based on the economy and what the city really needs. That should go into your deal. Here is how a potential P3 deal might work for the city. Given that you own the property, it's worth about $12.3 million. Here's a sample. You could go out to the market, solicit developers to develop the site, and then specify exactly what you want in it. You want this kind of housing, you want retail, you want quality public space. What you want goes into your solicitation. Once you choose a developer, you could choose to then either swap property or do a ground lease on the property. In exchange, the developer builds the city hall facilities and whatever space you want into it. You trade the credit value of the $12.3 million in the property against the cost of construction. That significantly reduces your cost. We can't really estimate what your cost of the construction could be because we don't know what the space program is. We know what's here now, but the buildings are fairly inefficient, so we don't know what your eventual space demands might be. Choosing a number in terms of expanding City Hall, including the library and fire hall, if that was your decision, or fire station, if that was your decision, about 72,000 square feet. That could run in raw construction without land cost and others, anywhere from 10 to about $18 million. So your 12.3 fits into that in terms of a discount on that space pretty nicely, but that's why you need to do a space plan to figure out exactly what you want, how much you need, and about how much it's going to cost. Because you can trade the value of the land against that and get a really good deal at the end of the day. The developer then finances and completes construction of the City Hall facilities, the public facilities, based on that discount price. The city would assume a 99-year triple net lease for $1 a year. You're getting the space for the value of the property. Then the developer gains the right to redevelop the rest of the property under a plan that you approve, a very detailed and specific plan that you approve. And then they're responsible for maintenance of the entire property. If you work it out right, you've got tax flow coming back to the property taxes coming back, or payment in lieu of taxes coming back to the city. Again, that could offset either construction, operating cost, or go into other programs. So that's a very simple P3 approach, but because you're sitting on the value of this property, you've got tremendous leverage. You really can demand what you want out of the developers, and based on how many and who showed up at the developer forum, you're in the driver's seat. You're looking at extreme developer interest in doing something on this property, and that's great news. We'd recommend that beginning early in this process, hire some third-party engagement with experience in construction, negotiating public-private partnerships, and help you soliciting. That's not a function of architects or even planners. That really is a tenant representation function. And that's done by large brokerage firms who are best at that. And there's lots of actually talent that does that in South Florida, given our construction and development. Having somebody who's your hired gun to help you represent this from early in the process would be very helpful and help you get the best deal. Last is there's other elements to put into it. As I said, make developers do the work for you. Make them prove out the economics. Make them prove out the financing. Let them show the jobs that are going to be created, and let them prove out all of the important specific in terms of what the benefits to the city, in terms of your future costs, what your maintenance is going to be on the property, but make them do the work, and they will. They will respond to this proposal, and based on what we've seen, you should get some really interesting proposals as well as a wide range of proposals. So with that, I think Director Williams has requested, we're looking forward to doing a workshop with you where you can ask us all kinds of questions about what we've done. Any questions tonight?
No, thank you for being so thorough and
Okay.
presenting us with all of this information. This is very new for me, at least, some elements of it, but I am excited that we are starting on something because development is going to come to this site sooner or later, and I just want us all to be aware and to be, I don't know, excited that we get to decide on what's going to possibly be on this site as long as we are sitting here. And so I want to thank you for that and the opportunities. When I first brought this up I saw that about, leasing the land and getting them to build it for us, and that is something with keeping costs down, something that is going to be very important to this commission and to the CRA board. And so I want to thank you for your due diligence on this project.
Great.
Board member
I
Salvino.
just have one quick question. You're going to give us the opportunity, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put, but you're going to give us opportunities, because I listened pretty intensely on some of the partnership things that you're talking about and analyzing and just in quick figures of the square footage and so on. I just want to be able to understand a lot of that, because I think that you're right. We're in the driver's seat, and I think when it comes back to the board and so on with these, once you get developed, because the two things you just keyed on, I just want to let them know what's on my mind, is the housing that can be, the people that need to come in here, we need to be able to bring in a little bit more of, pricing down from $1,500 down to maybe $1,200 or something like that, where they can be a little bit more affordable. The thing is, when those developers come in here, and just from watching, doing some stuff myself, I realize that the cost per door, when they start to build up there, and you allow that, and you start telling them that, when we're in the driver's seat, and it's a $15 million new city hall to build, and they see it goes up $3 million off the property value, the next thing you know, their cost of their door is going to go up. So we got to be very careful on when we visit this, that we understand how much they're going to be charging per square foot for retail stores, and how much they're going to be charging for rent on the places, for it to be practical for us to move forward with that. I mean, unless we're going to go to a different element and then the prices go back up again. So it depends on which direction we're going to go with this. That's just my thought.
One of the other advantages of agreeing, two other advantages of going into a public-private partnership agreement is, I mentioned, the risk. This is extremely low cost and very low risk for the city to engage in. You can start this process, go all the way through to a solicitation. If you don't like what you get back, you've got no commitment, and you've got very little money in it. So you haven't lost anything. You may have gotten some great ideas, but it's a very low-risk proposition to do this.
I agree. I just think
you're not engaging
developer, and it's
architects.
not
You're
gonna be
not
hungry.
spending money. You're letting the private community do the work and let them put their expertise and their heads together to figure out to solve your problems. The other major advantage of doing it privately, the private sector can take advantage of tax credits. And that's where you have to be, you've got to make some hard and fast decisions. You've got to draw some real bright lines. It has to be this much percentage workforce housing. We're not recommended that in fact, we don't recommend it. It's a low-income housing site. But for workforce housing, which is targeted at, your median incomes, your average workers, 80% of median income up to 180% of median income. And that's, teachers, policemen, firemen, young professionals especially. They get really hurt with high housing prices. They can have advanced degrees, but they're starting out, they get hurt in the marketplace. The private sector can take advantage of tax credits. You can't as a public entity. That further drives down the cost. And if you're very specific, you say, look, we want X number of residential units, but 50% of them have to be for workforce housing, say. I'm pulling numbers out of the air. They'll figure out ways to get there.
Okay.
And you say, show us how you're going to get there. And
Well,
they'll do it.
Let me ask to piggyback off of that, because I've written down some things that were similar to that. But when you say workforce, that's not really affordable in the city of Dania with the people that live here and the people that are struggling with finding housing. So workforce and affordable, to me, workforce is not very affordable when it comes down to, you might not be a teacher. You might work at Publix. You might be a bagger. You might not have a $40,000 income, but that does nothing for the community that currently is suffering a lot because they cannot afford to to have rents or can afford their rents or their mortgages, and workforce is just as expensive. Workforce is at $1,500 a month. Like he was saying, coming down from 1,500 to 1,200, that's workforce, is the 1,500. So it doesn't really get us where we need to be, and I agree, we do need a workshop. I know that our executive director understands the needs, especially of these communities and of the residents that's here, and she's done a great job doing so. And so I think that we'll be able to come together, you know, as a team and to get something that everyone could be proud of. Vice Chair?
Kevin, on page 9 at the bottom, a distinctive architectural theme. Is that something that we can talk about at the workshop, but can you give me an example off the top of your head of something?
We can show you everything from California to Texas to places in Florida. And this was something that really did come out of the developer focus group. They said, look, it's, you know, honestly, Dania Beach there were some distinct elements to it historically, but those have kind of faded over time. You know, hotels have become more generic. Decide what it is. And nobody could answer what it is. This is, again, something you challenge the development community to come back with. What is a distinctive Dania Beach style? Somebody may have that answer. We don't know what it is yet.
So if we see something in the meantime before our workshop, we should take a photo.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
absolutely.
Try to develop away from the generic hotels, like you said, and develop our own kind of distinctive style based on our history, the beach, Dania Point, or whatever our style will going to be. We'll develop it. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, look, the one really big point that I just can't say enough about is your opportunity that's looking at you right now. Because you own the property, you already made the decisions on zoning. You've got a train station that's already been chosen, selected, and is the preferred location. You've got all these elements coming together. This could be something really interesting, something really benefits the residents, provides a whole lot of new type of activity, and then as well sets you apart. There's a lot of other cities, even those that have new transit stations planned, they're way behind you at this point. They need to go out and buy the property. They haven't done the rezoning. They don't have other development nearby that's telling the world that their city is a great place. You've got it all going on right now. So that, you know, choosing how you make this market Dania Beach is another real important decision too.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Consent agenda, do we have any pulls? I'm pulling 3.
Move the items with the exception of point 3.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? You want me to read it? Oh, okay. This was to approve the commercial property improvement grant application for Associates MD on Federal Highway in the amount not to exceed $20,000. We have some.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. DeAndre Spradley, Economic Development Manager.
Good evening.
Good evening.
As an overview of the project, just a reminder, the CRA facade program provides grants up to $20,000, and it requires a 30% match from the applicant. Mr. Joseph Perez is the property owner and is applying on behalf of Associates MD Medical Group. Associates MD Medical Group, currently they are a family practice, currently operating in the city at 101 South Federal Highway, and they plan to relocate to 1437 South Federal Highway. They will be completely renovating the interior and exterior to provide doctor offices, exam rooms, x-rays, and support spaces. For the exterior improvements, they will be doing new paint, new architectural tower, and a new covered entry. They will also modify the paving and adding landscaping to create 3 additional parking spaces. The architect is anticipating that the work should take about 3 to 4 months with completion in early 2019. This is a photo of the existing property or the existing condition currently. This is facing northeast on South Federal Highway.
Oh, it's right across the street from
This is
Joe's.
the interior of the building. And this is the rear of the building. This is the proposed work that they are proposing. This is the west elevation, so basically this would be the main entrance along South Federal Highway. This is the side of the building. And this will be the rear of the building. As a summary, the applicant is seeking the maximum grant amount of $20,000. The total project cost is estimated at $33,448. And the applicant did receive 3 quotes. The first one was $33,448. The second one, $38,565. And the last one was $43,426. The applicant does meet all the requirements for the grant program. We did receive comments from the Community Development Department. There are some minor comments, but they will be addressed later on once they submit for their building permits. And staff is recommending the CRA board to approve the maximum grant amount of $20,000.
Thank you.
Thank you, DeAndre.
Before you, Vice Chair?
Do you have a, DeAndre, do you have a copy of the landscape plan?
No, sir, we do not for the facade grant application, but we do have one for the site plan application that they did submit.
Okay. Because that's it's a much needed improvement in that area, because I know that building's been vacant for how long?
Long time.
6 months or longer? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to invite Mr. Sergio Laprada of Associates MD and Mark Engel, the architect. They just want to say a few things in support of this application.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for giving us the opportunity.
Can I have your name and address?
Yes,
for the record,
Sergio Lafrata. I'm with Associates MD Medical Group. As the presentation had shown, we currently operate one of our doctor's offices right here around Dania Beach Boulevard in a rental property. And we have seen the need to grow this space. And we have then organized to acquire this property that's closer to Federal, in the Federal Highway as well. And we are planning to build a state-of-art medical office there. And we have space for 3 doctors, 3 providers. We're going to have an X-ray facility, and it's a family practice business. We are a group that we have almost 18 properties and offices around Broward County, most of those dedicated to family practice. We have around 40-some providers, most family practitioners, physicians, and also we do cardiology, we do podiatry, we do neurology, and it's a group that has been growing tremendously. And we are very grateful to be here in Dania, and we have a very good base of patients in Dania, and we continue to see the growth of the patient base, hence the need for a bigger and better space in the area.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Mark Engel, 4800 Southwest 64th Avenue, Davie. I'm the architect on the project. To answer your question, we did submit a landscape plan at the site plan application. The value that's listed on there for the value of the work is purely for the exterior improvements. You know, when we were doing the grant, we hadn't developed the plans for the interior yet, so we couldn't get pricing for that. So they're going to be spending a lot more money on this property to bring it up to their standard.
Sure.
So, and we agree, the landscape in the back to kind of, that's really where the main entrance for the building will be for the patients, because that's where the parking is. So they're really going to improve that rear property area.
Go ahead.
Because some of the challenges there is because there's hardly any setback there, is you can't really do anything in the front, only architecturally. You can't really plant anything.
Right.
So you have a lot of probably opportunities to landscape the alley. And what is that, 13th Street that runs along the side? 15th.
What we're going to do is right now the pavement goes right up to the building, so we're going to be pulling the pavement about 5 feet away from the building so we can landscape and soften up the back of the building. And then we're going to landscape the rear property line. There's about a 5-foot landscape strip there, and then trying to kind of screen the alley from that side street also. So
Are you going to keep the other side open on Dania Beach Boulevard? That site will stay open?
the door, yeah, there'll be doors from that side, correct?
No.
No, are they going to keep, you're going to keep it open?
And Winn-Dixie Plaza, it's on East Dania Beach Boulevard across from the casino.
your existing-
Is that, no,
It's right
that's not
here.
yours?
No, it's right here, Bill.
No, they're-
Right by Conner Galleries.
There is a property over here. You can see a big sign that says
Across the street
Dr.
from
Andrea
Okay, okay.
Sparrows.
Yeah.
Dr. Andrea Sparrows
Mhm.
works
Right.
for us, and that's her office, their practice that we're
Oh,
moving up there. But
Yeah.
we rent this property.
Right.
This is an old building, has
Yeah.
only 3 exam offices, exam rooms, and we
It's very
cannot
old.
grow the volume of patients coming through this clinic.
Mm-hmm.
So what we plan to do after that property is ready, we're going to move her over there with the patient base and even include more providers.
Sure.
You're going to have urgent care facilities there, like,
Not the plan by now, no. Just a family practice operating in regular hours, 8 to 5.
Board Member Brandon Marty?
Yeah, listen, as you know, we already have the doctor's facility where Winn-Dixie is. And I have to ask you a question because, you say you have doctors there, a lot of doctors. What I don't understand about these facilities are this. If I want to go to a doctor when I want to go for whatever, they say, oh, he's only here on Thursdays, or he's only here on Tuesdays.
Well, it
Or
depends.
we don't accept your insurance, and we're from Miami. Are you from Miami too?
No, I'm not. I'm from Fort Lauderdale, and our main office is headquarters
All
is
right,
here in
but
Davie.
do you have doctors there for our residents for whatever they come there for, or are they told you can only come on a certain day?
No.
Because that's all we have, that doctor or the x-ray technician on a certain day?
No, we don't have an X-ray. This is a family practice doctor. So it's a family practice only. We have one single doctor operating in this office.
One.
One. And she's here Monday to Friday from 8 to 5. And we accept more than 200 insurance plans. I guarantee you that whatever insurance plan you have, you're going to be accepted here. We do Obamacare, we do Medicaid, Medicare, everything that it's available. Now, in the new facility, the plan is to only have family practice as well, although we're going to be adding an X-ray machine there. X-ray operates every day, Mondays to Fridays.
So if a woman brings her child in there, but it's not urgent care, right?
No, it's not urgent care.
So they really
And
have to
we don't
sign up
see
with
child, usually we start at 15, 16 years old in family practice.
So your doctor there would be a primary care physician under any insurance plan, correct?
Most of the insurance plans, yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're more than welcome.
Do we have a motion to approve this item?
I'll approve it.
Second.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Proposals and bids?
It's a resolution of the Board of Directors of the Dania Beach Community Redevelopment Agency, the CRA of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, authorizing the proper CRA officials to award a bid related to request for proposal RFP number CRA-18-001 to Atlantic Studios, Inc. for production services for the 2018-2019 Dania After Dark Festival in an amount not to exceed $69,600, running for conflicts, further providing for an effective date.
Is this
No, this is Dania After Dark. Do we have any discussion on this?
I have one question.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Raquel, if you can help me on this, just so I understand. So we have the production services. We paid them $69,000 for 12 months worth of service. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Can you just give me a quick rundown of what they provide for the $69,000?
Sure. So Atlantic Studios, who has been the event producer for the last 4 installments of Dania After Dark, they provide the staging, sound, band, electricity. They cover all the fire inspection permits, BSO, after hours costs, as well as they coordinate and get all the food truck vendors as well as the art vendors. They bring in the bar and operate it as well. And so they really provide overall event production and management and bring everything on site.
Okay, and that cost that they pay for all that stuff comes out of that $69,000 for the stages and stuff as well, right?
So the fee that we pay to Atlantic Studios doesn't really cover all of their costs.
I understand.
They actually generate some revenue off of the bar to offset some of the deficiencies.
That was my next question. I mean, I didn't figure that would cover that whole expense of what they do. So the vendor charges that they do and the food truck charges and so on, that provides them with an income that helps offset that as well, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have a motion and a second?
Move it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Discussion and possible action. The Florida Department of Economic Opportunity Total Quality Logistics, LLC, push option requests.
So this item is on the City Commission agenda this evening, and I just wanted to have the discussion here because this item in 2015 originated out of the CRA. Essentially, Total Quality Logistics, which is a company here in Dania Beach, they executed an agreement with the Department of Economic Opportunity to expand their operations in the city. And in exchange for their expansion, the state of Florida offered them a 80% tax refund, and 20% would come from the county and the city. So we would split the remaining 20%. Their task was to come up with 60 jobs over a course of 3 years, 20 jobs in each phase. And the city's contribution is supposed to be $12,000 per year. However, because they have requested a push option or an extension, the cost to the city would decrease because they weren't able to fulfill their requirements in the adequate amount of time. So the state has said okay to them having the push option, but the city would have to consent to it. So it would reduce our cost from $12,000 per year to $11,400 per year, and that's pending an audit by the DEO to ensure that the jobs that they said that they were going to create are actually created. So this item is on the agenda for the City Commission, but I wanted to, again, discuss it here because this is an economic development item that began in the CRA in 2015.
Any other discussion? Nope. All right. Resolution?
Resolution of the Board of Directors of the Community Redevelopment Agency, CRA, of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, authorizing the Department of CRA officials to execute renewal of an employment agreement with Ms. Raquel Williams to provide services as Executive Director to the CRA, providing for conflicts, further providing for an effective date.
Any comments? Commissioner Brandon Marty?
Yeah, my comment is this, it hasn't even been 1 year yet, am I correct?
Correct.
Correct is, wait, where's this? All right, but the renewal will be right now.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, why aren't we waiting until the year is up, and meanwhile, we'll have a new board seated and let them be in on it?
Go ahead.
Instead of renewing, it hasn't even been 12 months yet.
The renewal will go into effect November 15th, which would be like the start date of the new year. This item is brought before you to coincide with the adoption of the budget, so to ensure that whatever salary is negotiated is in line with the budget. The current contract states that at least 30 days notice must be given by both parties to renew the contract or to discuss renewal of the contract. And I wanted to give the CRA board that I've been working with an opportunity to decide on whether they saw fit that I continue, because the CRA board right now have been the ones to watch the work of the CRA and to be able to evaluate my work with the CRA.
Vice Chair?
Understand.
I mean, I can only speak for myself personally. I've been, as a private citizen working with the CRA, when Jeremy was here and then through Rachel, and when we used RMA and Associates, which I think now we have a bigger and better robust CRA that's doing some things that we've never done before and looking at some items that we've never looked at. So, I mean, I will go ahead and, approve an increase for the contract to take effect on November the 15th. I think a 2-year or 3-year contract with a minimum of about a 6% increase and then 2 additional vacation days, and written into the contract with evaluation after a period of 1 year.
Is that in there, or is that what you're proposing?
That's what I'm proposing.
Okay. Board Member Grace?
I think that the new CRA director has been thinking outside the box. It shows concerning some of the stuff that we've been having the pleasure of being entertained with. We talked about this briefly in the budget meeting, that we do the 4% and then we do the percentage that we had asked for. And I think that we should stick with the 4% plus the additional, 2 vacation days. And what was the amount in the budget workshop that we talked about?
We had a workshop?
It was 4%.
In the budget workshop, you mean what the commission discussed?
Yes.
The commission discussed 4% plus 3,000.
That's my recommendation.
For the commission.
That's for her, CRA.
No, the 3,000 was for the commission, but we didn't really discuss anything for.
Yes, we did talk about the CRA.
No, you just said that you wanted to make sure that it was approved as soon as possible, but we didn't discuss the details of that one.
I think we should stick with the 4%, the 2 vacation days, and
What's in there? What did you request?
term of contract.
The request was a 4%.
Only do 2 years out because you're going to have another commission that's going to be elected.
Okay. So
The request was a 3-year term, a 4% increase, which is the same as what every city staff member would receive. Lump sum severance equal to 3 months or 12 weeks salary. 5 vacation days, which would be, personal days, which would be an increase of 2 days.
That's what's said.
Okay.
That's what I'm agreeable to. Not 3 years out, because and after this year, this commission is going to turn over again in 2 years. So I would say 2 years, not 3.
And I say 1 year.
Okay, we need a consensus. I'm okay with what she asked for. I mean, I know that we did the same thing for our employees. We didn't do a 1 year. We didn't do it. We did the maximum amount of years. I also think I'm okay, especially with the extra days off, because of the number of events that is held by the CRA. I think their staff does an amazing job. I personally think that she's underpaid. I know this is, I know what she asked for when she first came in, and we gave her that, and I'm not saying that, but compared to other CRA directors and the amount of work that she does, that's just my personal opinion on it. I'm okay with what she asked for.
Mayor,
yes.
I don't want them to rescind it, because I know that.
Rescind what?
I think we're all agreeable for the days and the 4%. But you're asking for 3 years, and some of these people are not going to be here in 3 years because we have an election in 2 years.
That's right.
That's why I said the 2 years, and then give them an option to come back at a later date for the additional year.
Okay, we have a lot more. Go ahead.
I would just like to say my request for the 3 years is essentially based on the nature of the projects that we're working on. I feel that the city center redevelopment project will span more than 2 years, and I just want to ensure that that's something that I can watch come to fruition.
Okay. Board Member Salvino?
Thank you, Mayor, Chair. So let me just say, whether it's 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years, it really doesn't make a difference if there is a clause in there that's already set forth of, I guess, 90 days. Is that what you're saying? That if you did not fulfill the function of the board, that you would, whether it's 1 year contract, you could be relieved anyhow. So it makes not much of a difference how long your contract is. It could be for 20 years, because if the board feels that it's wrong, you're going to go in 90 days with the contract. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So, you know, I mean, if you guys want to do the 2 years, or it's up to you guys. I don't care, because I think what will happen is that in 60 days you're going to have a new board up here, and if something goes wrong and 3 members of the board doesn't feel that she's doing the job, she's going to get a notice. But I don't think that's going to happen. But I don't think it really matters how long the time frame is. So.
Okay.
I think pretty much that Commissioner Grace, I think, is on the right track with the 2 years and the 4%.
And also the vacation days.
Yeah, absolutely. The rest of it's fine.
If I may,
hold on, we're gonna
they're
get
different.
consensus.
Personal days are different than vacation days.
Yes.
Yeah, the personal days.
So
We're
you're
talking
talking
about
about personal days, Mr. Harris? That's what she asked for? Okay. So she's asked for 5. That's right.
So just so we can get a consensus, I'm on board for the 3 years. I'm going to go, okay, we're going to go towards each person and see. Yep. Vice Mayor? Vice Chair?
What's the 3 years? The 4%?
I'm
and the
on
2 days?
The only thing at issue, I think, is
Only
the
thing
length
that's
of the
an
term.
issue is the length of the contract. I think we don't need a motion in a second, we just need a consensus.
Oh, I'll start it.
Well, then
I
you'll
just
vote at the
started
end.
it, I'm going down the
Yes,
list.
yeah, 2 years. I mean, it takes 2 years to develop a plan, so yes, 2 years.
Okay, so I think you have your consensus, everyone else is shaking their head.
Right.
Okay.
2.
Okay, now we need a motion.
Now we need a motion in a second for the actual resolution.
Motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Board member, sorry.
I just want to say thank you for
You're
acknowledging the work that we're doing in the CRA, and thank you for extending the contract.
Our pleasure.
Board member comments, Board member Salvino?
The only comment I want to make, a couple of them, is, first of all, I do have to commend you, Raquel, on the Dating After Dark. I think it's become a big success. One of the things that's picked up around the area as well, I went to the Morrison over there the other day to have a drink, while the thing was going on, and the Morrison was packed. I mean, it was, so the businesses are getting stuff from it. I ask you to maybe ask some of the other businesses around to understand what's going on with the Dating After Dark and try to get them involved, because I really think they're missing out on what's going on. Number 2 is, if there's anything possible that if we're not going to have a lot on the agenda, can we move the meetings to 6 o'clock again, unless you have something to talk about, like the Art and Seafood Festival and things like that? I know tonight was a big agenda with the budgets and stuff like that, but if you can maybe think about what's going on and give us like a 2-week notice or something, is that possible that, you need an hour or an hour and a half? Would that be possible? Because I know that last week we were out of here in 45 minutes, and tonight we got a little bit of a late start, but we were only just a little after an hour. So
I think the last meeting ended at 6:42. And we did discuss this before. If there's a time where we feel like it will be a short agenda, I will definitely
That's fine.
reach out and
Thank you.
ask that we start a little later.
No problem. That's all I have, Mayor.
Board
Chair.
member Grace?
I do appreciate Dating After Dark. I've seen people that I hadn't seen in a while. They're coming and they're bringing their children, they're bringing their neighbors, and the businesses are actually coming out of their stores and their restaurants and checking us out and see what we're doing. And I understand that basically all of the restaurants and the stores in this area, they're packed on the second Saturday of each month. So that's a good thing. I'm really happy with it, and I think that there's more to come. After I listened to the presentation of the workshop that we have with the charrette, I see great things happening in the city of Dania Beach, especially with the city center, and I'm hoping that will be able to flourish before we get to 2020.
Board Member Brandon Marty?
Yes. I had a wonderful time at Dania After Dark. I stayed very late, too. I have two things that I have to bring up. One, someone's got to be out there to help with this political stuff that's going on over there. Really and truly. I mean, even though, I know they're shaking heads, even though candidates come here, and I've already checked this out with Mr. Schneider, and they get a book and they sign it on what they're supposed to do and what they're not supposed to do. I thought there was a merry-go-round that it was going around and around and around and around. And it wasn't a merry-go-round, even though it really looks like one built on a bicycle. And I mean with poles up in the air with all kinds of color lights going on like crazy. And the person has someone driving a bike, thank you, darling, and the other's throwing out the pamphlets to everybody. So I did take it upon myself to ask this person if they read that you can't do that or anything that's of that has to do politically on city property. Everyone knows that. So he said, well, where can we go? I said, something that's not city property, would that, you know, well, where's that over here? Well, it's not where you're at. That's the key thing. And the person said, would you take a picture with me? I said, sure, but this picture only proves my point of what you're doing. I took the picture with that candidate. I don't want to get in so political that the candidates go around and bother the people that are going there for fun and enjoyment by talking to them about what they stand for compared to us, how they would be treated more nicely when spoken to compared to what we have now. They just should leave there, and someone should make sure that this is done. This is the second meeting I've been, the second time I've been there that this is happening, where I have to defend to a candidate my own commissioners and mayor. That's ridiculous. It can't happen there, so that's got to change. I don't know what you got to do or how you can change it, but it's got to change. Yes, Tom?
I did look into this because the city clerk advised me you had this question. Unfortunately, there is no statute that allows us to restrict people expressing political activities on city property.
I thought you can't give pamphlets out
You can give pamphlets out.
on city-owned property.
We'd have to look at the handbill ordinance because there's a.
You better talk
We'll
to
take it.
him
We'll take
then.
it.
He
we'll-
knows he said it
we'll
can't
take
be done.
We'll take a look at the handbill ordinance because you might need permission for that.
Well, someone
But for
gave-
people to come here and speak or, wear T-shirts or even be here as a candidate on city property, they can do that. They can never ask for money inside any city facility.
That's a no-no.
I think you all know that. And then when the voting day, they can't be within 100 feet of a voting precinct or any of their supporters. Those are the only two laws that prohibit the restrictions on candidates.
Well, we don't allow political things to be handed out at IT Parker. They have to stay outside the front doors.
I mean, those are your rules. I think when I was given one last month, I believe, and I took it out of my pocket or took it out of someone else's pocket to take a picture. Someone said, well, why did you take that out of the pocket? I'm allowed to give this on the street. And I was just like, just because I didn't want to take a picture with it in your pocket,
Yeah.
I'm going to put it back. But it's just not much. It happens. This is the time of an election, and I'm sure, I mean, people want to be noticed, and they want votes, and so they're going to give out their stuff. And yeah, I know they're going to give out their stuff, and they're going to want to be seen, and they're going to want to voice their opinion.
But that's not what we were taught when we were running. We couldn't do it
I
on
know.
city property.
Well, I gave my stuff out at Arts and Seafood Festival, so I don't know.
And they brought it up, if you
I-
recall.
I- We did, if you recall, about 8 months ago, amend the
Well, I
the
find it
handbill
very
ordinance.
annoying that
I
we have to
understand.
pay a CRA to have an event for political. If the CRA's Dania After Dark is going to turn into political for our candidates, then you should stop it right now until after November. That's my feelings. The people shouldn't have to be bothered with that stuff.
Vice Chair?
No comments.
None for me either.
Give us a 5-minute break because
I
we
am.
started late.
I am. Meeting adjourned.
I'm not gonna lower myself to do stuff like that. Now I might. I might wear Marco Salvino's.